15 celebrities who are now homeless. Then and now, 2026. How many celebrities do you think lost everything after fame? And how many of them ended up with no home at all? In Hollywood, success can disappear just as fast as it arrives. One bad decision, a failed career move, or money mismanagement can turn millionaires into people struggling to survive. What looks like a dream life from the outside can quickly become a nightmare behind closed doors. Today, we're looking at famous faces who once had it all and how fame, fortune, and poor choices pushed them into homelessness, proving that, in Hollywood, nothing is ever guaranteed. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was one of the biggest and well-known heavyweight boxers in the world. Mike Tyson has always been earning huge money as a heavyweight boxing champion, and his cumulative earnings surpass the figure of hundreds of millions. Yet, entering 2003, the finances of the heavyweight boxer reached the crisis point. In 2003, Mike Tyson sought Chapter 11, bankruptcy protection. Mike revealed that he owed between $23 and $27 million to his creditors. Tyson also owed several million to the IRS and the British tax authorities, in addition to the amount owed as part of his divorce settlements. He once confessed that his earnings were about $300 million, but most of the amount had been spent on lavish houses, cars, jewelry, as well as exotic pets such as tigers. Next comes a big Hollywood star whose financial decisions achieved similar celebrity status to his films. Nicolas Cage. He is one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood, starring in films such as Ghost Rider or National Treasure. He reached the pinnacle of success, taking home tens of millions of dollars, even $40 million in 2009. The trouble came when he laid out huge amounts of cash for homes, automobiles, and other collectible items, racking up enormous tax bills, including millions to the IRS. Cage has admitted that real estate investments and real estate downturns were factors that contributed to his financial difficulties, but he had not claimed to be homeless and/or bankrupt. In fact, he managed to dig his way out of debt by taking jobs and/or selling his properties, proving that even the biggest actors have financial struggles. Now let's take a look at one of the highest-paid actors of the 70s, Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was one of the favorite Hollywood actors, having movies like Smokey and the Bandit and Deliverance to his credit. During the height of his success, his salaries had been reaching into tens of millions of dollars. Along with his huge salaries came his lavish lifestyle, which included several properties, a private jet plane, 150 horses, and even a helicopter. He frequently cited the amounts he had spent to live the big life. Nevertheless, all of that money also came with cost. Bad investments such as his ill-fated restaurant chains, as well as his highly publicized divorce from actress Lonnie Anderson, depleted his funds. At one time during the 1990s, Reynolds owed more than $10 million to his creditors and was forced to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Nevertheless, he was able to retain his home in Florida because of the bankruptcy laws that permitted him to protect the property while discharging his debts. Later in life, Reynolds was quite forthright about his financial mistakes, at one point saying that he had lost more money than is possible because he simply didn't watch it carefully. Before his death in 2018, he was not only able to pay off all his debt, but also leave an estimated $5 million trust to his son. Let's take another iconic figure from the music world who had to deal with his own financial struggles, Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was one of the most popular soul singers of all time, with timeless hits such as What's Going On and Let's Get It On. However, unlike his success in the musical sector in the 1970s, Gaye struggled financially. Following his separation from his first wife, Anna Gordy Gaye, he was forced by a judge to pay substantial alimony payments. As such, he assigned all the future royalties from his album Here My Dear in order to meet the payments. By 1976, Gaye had filed for bankruptcy due to his lavish lifestyle, which, along with taxes owed, made him owe millions of dollars, including over $4.5 million taxes to the IRS. This can also be debated, as Here My Dear received negative reviews from critics and failed to sell well, further adding to Gaye's financial troubles. Notably, financial struggles did not end in Gaye's early life. At the point of his death in 1984, he was still facing significant debt and liquidity challenges. Now let's move on to a celebrity who has struggled with high-profile financial struggles, as well as some legal worries. Baldwin. The Baldwin family is known for their involvement in acting, and Stephen Baldwin also struggled with financial difficulties. In 2009, he defaulted on his personal home in Rockland County in New York due to more than $800,000 in missed mortgage payments. Court papers also indicate that when Baldwin filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, he listed more than $2.3 million in debt. His financial woes didn't end there either. A few years later, Baldwin faced charges in New York State for not filing state income tax returns for a number of years, thus resulting in a legal settlement where he agreed to repay substantial tax dues to escape incarceration. Even in the present day, his story reminds one that fame itself does not provide an assurance of handling one's finances in the real world. The next story is far more heartbreaking: David Cassidy. David Cassidy was also one of the most popular teen idols of the 1970s, with record sales in the millions, and also the star of the popular TV series The Partridge Family. Nevertheless, despite this level of success, the later decades of Cassidy's life proved to be fraught with dire financial problems. In the year 2015, for instance, Cassidy declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy, claiming as much as $10 million in liabilities that included home loans, credit card debts, and attorney fees, even while still owning significant properties. In an attempt to settle those bills, and also due to an expensive divorce, Cassidy was driven to put up for public auction his high-end home in Fort Lauderdale. Cassidy had problems associated not only with finances, but also with the law, health problems, and personal issues. Cassidy has had multiple DUI arrests in the 2010s and has had visits to rehabilitation centers. Cassidy also had a reduction in income due to the dwindling career. Although Cassidy passed on in 2017, his financial meltdown shows a warning that celebrity status does not necessarily mean stability. Next up is a story of a talented musician whose life took him from hopeful beginnings to life on the streets. Ted Hawkins. Ted Hawkins was a talented American singer-songwriter hailing from Mississippi with a voice full of deep emotion and soul. Despite his remarkable talent and a devoted following overseas, Hawkins spent much of his career busking on the streets of Venice Beach, California, and traveling as a hobo, performing wherever he could to make ends meet. For years, Hawkins lived a life far from the recognition he merited. He wandered around the country, at times riding freight trains and doing odd jobs to survive. Despite struggling, Hawkins finally recorded and released albums, including Watch Your Step, that garnered critical acclaim. But he never gained wide commercial recognition before his death in 1995. Now let's turn to a well-known film actor whose financial difficulties made for publicized legal headlines. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid scored big in Tinseltown with film appearances in the classic Brokeback Mountain and National Lampoon's Vacation. However, towards the tail end of the 2000s and up to the early 2010s, things started to go off-kilter in his life. In 2009, he and his wife were arrested for failing to pay a hotel bill of more than $10,000. And the troubles didn't stop there. In 2010, the pair were arrested for squatting in a guest house of a property they once owned, refusing to leave until authorities intervened. Let's look now at someone whose life story indicates that fame does not necessarily keep hardships at bay. John Blyth Barrymore. John Blyth Barrymore used to enjoy a promising career as the half-brother of Drew Barrymore with roles in TV and movies. Fast forward to 2012, his life would take a hard turn. Reports show he lost his home and he began using government benefit cards in order to obtain food from grocery stores to feed himself, meaning he had no stable housing. Barrymore was candid about losing his savings, the pain of being estranged from family, including his famous half-sister, as he struggled with poverty and homelessness. The next story is even more unsettling. A woman known around the world, a face millions grew up watching on the big screen, Margot Kidder. Margot Kidder is also known globally for portraying Lois Lane in the Superman film series alongside actors like Christopher Reeve. However, Kidder's personal world took a very tough turn in the middle of the 1990s. In 1996, Kidder found herself in the middle of an extremely serious psychological crisis in which she wandered through the streets of Los Angeles for several days in a disoriented and confused state, to the extent of actually sleeping in bushes while fearing for her safety. She was only found by police and admitted to the psychiatric ward when she became hospitalized. Kidder has talked openly about how she has had problems with bipolar disorder and how she struggled with fame and challenges when she was younger, although she recovered and went on to act and speak about mental illness problems when she was older. These street years are definitely one of the saddest parts of her Life. Next, we move to the story of a world-class athlete whose life outside the ring became as difficult as any fight. Rocky Lockridge. Lockridge was a world boxing champion in the sport of boxing, which included very strong performances in the latter part of the 1980s. However, after the end of Lockridge's boxing career, life for the former champion was not that great. After struggling for several years with finance, addiction, and other issues, Lockridge's life had fallen apart. Sometimes he had been living on the streets without any shelter and on little funds. Hard years have been represented by the reality television series Intervention, in which he voluntarily opted for rehabilitation. Later, he abstained from alcohol for several years until health problems relapsed in the latter life years. He passed away at the age of 60 in 2019, but has ever since become a symbol of how even true champions can encounter tough challenges years after their glory life. Next, we will consider a well-known TV star whose comedy triumph was followed by a period of financial struggles. Brett Butler. Brett Butler gained household status as a star of the ABC series Grace Under Fire. The role made her a star and brought her critical acclaim. She had issues with addiction and personal struggles both during and subsequent to her experience with the show. She experienced financial issues that saw her savings dwindle to zero. She ended up staying at a homeless shelter in Georgia. Lately, her fans have launched GoFundMe accounts for her in order to help her prevent being evicted and pay her bills, and she has also tried to revive her career through stand-up comedy acts and television production. Next, let's look at a broadcasting legend who faced financial struggles early in his career before becoming a household name. Larry King. Long before Larry King was the friendly face of late-night interviews, he struggled with money early on in his career. Following some legal and professional setbacks in the 1970s, King fell deep into debt and filed bankruptcy in 1978, reportedly owing more than $350,000 at a time when he was struggling to find steady work. Fortunately, later that same year, King landed a national radio show that eventually led to his classic 25-year run on CNN. Now let's move from talk show legends to music icons, and a story that began with a band and ended in financial crisis. Cyndi Lauper. Before Cyndi Lauper was a worldwide pop sensation with songs such as Girls Just Wanna Have Fun, she experienced poverty. Earlier in her career, she performed with a band called Blue Angel, whose only album bombed. When the band fired its manager, he sued Lauper and her bandmates for approximately $80,000. She filed for bankruptcy in 1981. Lauper supported herself with retail and restaurant jobs while continuing to play music, eventually making it big as a solo artist. She won Best New Artist at the Grammys in 1985 and went on to enjoy decades of success with hit albums, Broadway projects, and tours. Next up is a rapper who candidly revealed his experience from being rich to losing money back to financial highs. T-Pain. Grammy Award-winning rapper T-Pain, at one point in his life, had as much as $40 million in his bank account, according to reports. However, because of his lack of financial acumen, poor money decisions, and overspending, he found himself in a situation where he more or less lost his bank account. This is because in a Breakfast Club interview he mentioned that he had to borrow money so that he could buy his kids a Burger King. Although, since then, he has steadied his financial situation and is still actively working in the field of music and entertainment, T-Pain's experience serves as a tangible example of how quickly money, even millions, can evaporate if it's not managed effectively. And there you have it. From Hollywood legends to music icons and sports stars, fame and fortune don't always guarantee security. If you enjoyed this look at the highs and lows of celebrity life, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next deep exploration into the world of the stars.